Good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. Today is Friday, March 15th, 2019. I'm very glad to have you guys here. Now, let's get right in. We got a lot to do this morning. We got to talk about Brexit. We got to talk about the airplane that went down, the Boeing flight. And to get started, let's take a look and, let's open up the charts. Right here. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the markets. We want to get right into the markets. First thing we're going to talk about is gold price. We can see gold has been going up this morning, and we're at $1302.70 right now. We're up $6.90. She's moved back up into her range, and that's a good thing. And we're going to take a look at the silver price today. Silver price is $15.33, and it's up 18 cents on the day so far, and it's hesitating just a little bit right now. Over the last few minutes, it's been moving downwards just a little bit, but it's overall it's been up all morning. Now let's take a look at cryptocurrency. We're seeing cryptocurrency starting to heat up this morning a little bit. We're looking at $38.95. It's just under the $3,900 range at Bitstamp, but at Bitfinex, it's made it to $4,000 even. It's climbed up. It's $4,000 right at this second. Now we're going to take a look at cryptocurrency market capitalizations. Now, I'm working my way through the markets real fast this morning, and the reason why is because I got a lot to talk about with Brexit and that airplane crash that occurred. There's new information that's just came in. So first thing we're going to talk about here in the market cap is 136.1 billion. Bitcoin dominance of 50.9%. Now, we've seen that Bitcoin dominance drop back over the last few days. It was up to 51.5%. Now it's 50.9%. And what that means is simply is people are starting to move into the altcoins, and we're seeing some pretty heavy trading in the altcoins. Litecoin at 57.91. It's moving upwards nicely. Bitcoin Cash is taking big leaps upwards at 137.22. It's up over 4%. We see Binance Coin slowly making its way up. Stellar's been on a tear lately, so it's off a little bit today, 2.15%. But look at Cardano go. We're up to 4 cents, 4.9, almost 5 cents a piece for Cardano. Let me see, look at Monero go. Well, Monero's going big time, 52.87. So now let's move on and let's look at the pre-market data this morning. And we see the Dow up 121 points on the pre-market on the Dow Mini. This is the Dow Futures. So that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to have a good day on the Dow today. Because they're up 121 points on the pre-market data. We've had a long, extended Goldilocks rally here, and it's been on corporate buybacks, And, of course, within these corporations, the shareholders have been making a fortune. These shareholders have been like, this is all the rage right now. It reminds me back in 1929, back when people were putting money down on margin, but just before the stock market crash of 1929. This is what it reminds me of. So now let's move on and let's take a look at the crude oil prices. 58.59. It's down 2 cents, but what we see is an overall increase from last December until now. It's just been steadily, slowly rising crude price. So almost, it's getting up near $60 right now. And if this trend continues, it'll probably break $60 before long. This is OPEC, because America, they're just producing oil like crazy, Let's take a look at bonds and rates. We see an inversion in the bond yield here, and this is a sure sign of the recession that's unfolding and coming. This recession is coming. There's no turning it around at this point. England has fallen into a trap. Germany is getting ready to go into recession. Canada is getting ready to go into recession. So let's take a look now at the U.S. dollar index. U.S. dollars at 96.65, and we see it falling off slightly. Now, it was around 97.65 going back a few weeks ago. You know, it was up in the 97s. So we've seen about a 1-point decrease in the dollar, in the U.S. dollar index. The U.S. dollar index basically is a basket of currencies. The euro is the strongest part of the basket that makes up the U.S. dollar index. You know, I went over that on my show the other night. But let's take a look now at the meat of this show, and we're going to find out some new information. You know, that jet that plunged down and killed all those people? And now they're frightened of those jets? Well, they had good reason to be. The information has come out this morning. Here is a terrifying reason Boeing 737 MAX is grounded across the globe. Pilots are outraged. Boeing did not inform them of a program, a software program, that can wrench control of the aircraft from human hands. Can you imagine? The whole jet, the pilot, he sits on the ground on the runway before takeoff. He checks everything. He checks the airline controls. You know, he runs the controls back and forth, make sure the flaps are going up and down, that the rear tail rudder's working good, everything's working good on the plane. He checks the engines and everything. He does all these checks before you take off. Everything's fine. The aircraft is fine. Everything's working good on the aircraft. He gets up in the air, and some stupid computer software program takes control away from him, and he can't override it. Can you imagine the stupidity in that? And it's cost all these people their lives. They need to ground all these planes immediately, and they need to fix this problem, remove these software, and they need to install a manual override for the pilot so that he can push a button that'll turn the damn computer off, and he can take control of that airplane himself. This is what we need. It said Lion Air Flight 610 plunged into the sea off of Indonesia because the pilots lost the control of the aircraft due to software. Canadian Transport Minister Mark Garneau chillingly told a Wednesday press conference announcing the grounding of the Boeing 737 MAX 8. He says there's nothing wrong with the basic mechanics of the aircraft. Can you imagine? All those people died for nothing because of a stupid computer. There's nothing wrong with the basic mechanics of the aircraft. Its engines, wings, control surfaces are all believed to be working fine. This saddens me. The fact that this needs to be a lesson for the world. They're letting computers take too much control. You can't beat human eyes, you can't beat human hands, and human ingenuity. It's the best computer out there. It's a computer that... How many times do you call one of these companies and you get the stupid woman on the other end that's a computer voice? It's a computer. And you can't get a real person. And in the end you get frustrated and clang the phone down. But you end up having to call them back later anyway and go through the same rigmarole all over again. Oh my God, this is just terrible. So let's move on and talk about the Brexit. You know, here's a thing they did. They evidently made a vote on Wednesday night. The Parliament voted to reject leaving the European Union without a deal. Now, here's the thing. This is not their decision. How can they create a motion? It says the government had tabled a motion ruling out a no-deal outcome, but only on the 29th of March, the current exit date. Well, here's the thing. They've got a legal binding agreement called Article 50 that comes due on the 29th of March. And that legal binding agreement can only be taken out of play and extended by the European Union. The members of all 27 states of the European Union have to agree to take that off the table. This motion that they've made, it conflicts. It's a conflict of interest as far as I can see. I mean, I'm not a judge and I'm not a lawyer, but I see a conflict of interest with this motion that they've tabled. Because how can this motion have the effect of taking a no-deal outcome off the table if Article 50 will create a no-deal outcome on the 29th of March, and the only ones that can actually extend that time are the boys in Brussels. So I see a conflict of interest here in this, on this motion that they tabled. But we're going to move on because I don't fully understand how that motion can actually change the outcome of Article 50. So we're going to move on here, and we're going to take a look here at a picture. Here she is. Here's Theresa May. And isn't she proud of her boys? You know, look at her looking back at her boys. She's so proud of her boys, you know. And who do we have here? Well, I can't tell who they are. Their backs are turned. But I would say, if I had to guess, that on the left here looks like Claude Von Juncker, and standing next to him looks like Emmanuel Macron. If I had my guess, I'd think that's who they are. The hair looks like that, you know. I mean, look at Emmanuel Macron, how well-groomed that head is. I mean, who else could it be? It has to be Emmanuel Macron. Who else buys, 20,000 euros worth of makeup every year? And there's Claude Von Juncker. Look at the back of his head. He don't care about makeup at all. These are the boys in Brussels, I would say. I think, anyway. Look how proud she is of her boys, you know. And she's done such a good job, you know. It's just like a mouse going into a trap. He's going into this wire cage trap, and he looks around him, and he doesn't see the trap because he looks through the wire cage, and he sees the open world, you know, and he thinks he's going to get that cheese, and he goes and he grabs the cheese. Well, England has fell for the cheese. England has fell for the cheese. Britain, will EU leaders agree to an extension? See, the ball's in their court now. They're the only ones that can extend Article 50, and all 27 member states have to vote yes, right? And we're going to see which way this goes now. These are the boys that are going to decide. They're going to decide it. You know? It says, in contrast to the sound and fury coming out of Westminster on Thursday night, the silence on EU leaders. It says the Twitter accounts was deafening. This part is surely stunning silence. Europe politicians gaze open-mouthed at the maelstrom of division and chaos currently whirling around through the House of Commons. In other words, they don't know what to do. They're tabling this feel-good thing that they had. Where is it here? This evidently the government had tabled a motion ruling out a no-deal outcome. I only see this as some sort of feel-good amendment. I don't see where it has any legal binding teeth to stop Article 50. Tell me if I'm wrong, okay? But this is part of the chaos that they're enduring, and it's whirling through the House of Commons. 3 years after the UK voted to leave the EU, there's chaos in the House of Commons. This chaos is going to lead to 3 months now, because I think they're going to say yes. This is what I think is coming, is I think they're going to say yes to extending it for 3 months, Article 50. I mean, I've been following this all the way. I've got it right the last 3 times in a row, if you've watched my shows. I think now the 27 member states are going to vote yes. They're going to give them the 3-month extension. What's that 3 months going to do? It's going to destroy the UK's economy. That's what it's going to do. It's going to destroy the UK's economy. It's going to put them into a recession. That's what it's going to do. That's the ultimate end result of this. And then what's going to happen is that recession could start to spread worldwide. It could very well spread to Germany. next, then Canada, and gosh knows from there what other countries. But in the end result is going to be the whole world. I think probably one of the last countries to go down into the recession is surprisingly going to be the United States. And I think the United States is actually going to make out pretty darn good through this next recession, considering what's going to happen to a lot of these other countries. Because the United States is the core of the empire. It's like Rome, you know. It's always the periphery of the empire that goes down first. You know who's going to take the worst of all of this? Is going to be the European Union itself. Because ultimately, when this recession hits, these countries like Italy and Spain, the euro was put together poorly to begin with. And these people have grown used to a nice, fairly cushy life, you know, in these countries. When the recession hits, they're not going to be able to have that anymore. And how are they going to feel about that? Well, that's a big question. How are they going to feel about that? We have to look to France to find out how they're going to feel about that. What's been going on in France? How do the people in France feel about things right now? And what are they doing? You have to ask yourself these questions. Listen, thank you guys for listening to this report. And I really appreciate my viewers out there. Thank you for your support. Hit that thumbs up button. I really need that. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye, guys.